Well, you're up, Mark. Mark, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, I don't know if Mark can hear me. So he's on another planet right now, which the planet means that he doesn't have the news feed. And the only news I know that I can see here in Spain is that Spain is going to play in the World Cup. We have World Cup action coming on later on today, and it's not too far from now. And it'll be Spain versus Belgium. So we do have some World Cup action coming on. The other thing is that we have a result last night. For those who didn't see it, France beat Morocco 2-0. But Morocco was very happy to get that far because they basically made the Elite Eight. And they had a good run last year. They had a good run this year. And France might be the best team out there. So losing to France, they end up being the world champion. It was kind of a bad pairing for Morocco.
Because even the people in Morocco said that they didn't mind losing. They think that they are a world power and everything like that. So, and then y'all have a game coming up because Spain has got to play, I think, either today or tomorrow. So we'll see how they do.
Today.
And who knows, maybe they're going to run into France at some point as well. So it could be France against Spain at some point. But we're getting ready to go down to the Final Four because I know there's one game today. And then there's two games on Saturday, and then we'll have a champion by the 19th, which is a week from Sunday. So we're heading down to the home stretch now. But yeah, France is a strong favorite. They're saying Algeria is a strong favorite, and I know that even Sasha, he's predicting France against Algeria in the finals, and that's what the final was 4 years ago. So who knows? It might be a repeat of 4 years ago and everything like that.
You mean Argentina, France, Argentina?
I mean Argentina. I keep saying the wrong thing, but Argentina, Argentina against France.
But yeah, Argentina, when I saw the odds come down, it had France #1, Spain #2, and Argentina #3. And Argentina, of course, has Messi. Okay. And so the thing is, but if you saw what happened with the Egypt-Argentina game, your faith in Argentina would be very low because they basically got lucky. Some people think they did.
They got very lucky because they were down 2-0. I thought Egypt was about to put it ready to pull off one of the greatest upsets of all times, and then they wound up losing the game. I'm going like, this is not right.
I would agree. But it did show that Egypt can play some soccer. I mean, the thing is, if you
play some soccer.
Yeah, in Africa they had two real powerhouses. Morocco, which is Morocco's been a powerhouse. And if people have a chance, because I went down there several years ago, and there's a lot to see and do in Morocco, and the country's pretty big. You can go all the way down to America.
No, I was talking to Coco because we did Coco's show, and she's got a friend that is living in Morocco. I think she owns her family owns a restaurant or something like that. But she was actually had a torn allegiance yesterday because Fadia, I think is her name, and her family is from that area. They live in Morocco and have lived in Morocco for years. That's who Coco goes to visit when she goes there and everything. But she was actually born in France. So as she's told me when I was talking to her on WhatsApp recently, she really couldn't lose because if France won, she won because she's a French national, and then if Morocco won, she won because she's a Morocco citizen. So she really couldn't lose in that game.
Yeah, and Morocco has some very interesting cities. They have Tangiers, which is really nice. It's right across the border from Spain. Spent some time there. Rabat, which is the capital. It's all really nice. And there's Casablanca. Not so nice, but very historic because of the movie Casablanca. So they have Rick's Cafe in Casablanca. The problem with the Rick's Cafe in the movie, if you ever saw the movie Casablanca, it all took place in Rick's Cafe, or most of it did. The Rick's Cafe in the real Casablanca does not exist. It was actually put up there so tourists would have a Rick's Cafe to go to. But The odd thing of Casablanca, there really is no Rick's Cafe. However, just like all tourist does, we actually had to go stop and see Rick's Cafe in Casablanca. And, you know, it's not much. In other words, it's just it's a facade basically, but they did have that. So what's great about Morocco is a lot of the historic sites. They're all up and down and around, and the food, which is very, very good in Morocco. So if you do have a chance to go, you should really go. It's a worthy country to go to. It's very westernized, so you know it is what it is there, and it's bigger than you would think. It's a pretty big country, Morocco, and so they did really well at the World Cup. Egypt did really well, and Egypt is on my list to go to. I didn't go to it this year. I begged out and went to Istanbul. But next year, maybe I'll go because they have the Nile. Nobody has the Nile. And the pyramids and the Sphinx. And they also have the Valley of the Kings. I mean, there's a lot in Egypt, but they also have cats. And I'm deathly allergic to cats. And they have them in Istanbul, but you find out that even though they're feral cats, they say they're everywhere. Even if you're allergic to them, you won't really come in contact with them. And Cairo is an absolutely huge city. So it was very interesting to see they actually did really well. And the Pod TV network is doing very well because it looks like we're going to be moving to Fox. And this is going to be very interesting because when we were at IBM TV for many years before we became Pod TV, it kind of didn't work out. Okay. So our history is IBM TV, then Pod TV, now on Fox. We'll see how long that lasts. You know, yeah, we have a contract, but you know, as lawyers would say, contracts are made to be broken. So if they don't like our programming, Fox may go tear it up and say goodbye. But if they say goodbye, we're not going anywhere. We'll just be on Amazon Fire, and Amazon tends to leave us alone. So very interesting times. So Rick, Mark is not going to be doing much of the news. He's on the road to be back next week for the news. And the only news I see here in Spain is playing Belgium in the World Cup today, later on. And France beat Morocco, but Morocco made it to the Elite Eight. So you got to give it credit. And I've been down to Morocco. It is a real nice country. It's almost worthy to move to Morocco, except for us, it's too hot. The same reason we wouldn't go to Andalusia, the southern end of Spain. It's very hot. But the cities there are really nice. The food's great. I mean, it's just, it's a wonderful country.
Yeah, we used to have a Moroccan restaurant down the street, and it got replaced by like a salad place. So we hated that.
You hated the Moroccan restaurant or the salad place?
No, we loved the Moroccan restaurant, except for the belly dancing. Belly dancing is always a little embarrassing because,
right,
like the ladies shaking at your table, you're trying to eat dinner, and you have to like kind of, you know, put your dollars into her pants, and it's like, you know.
Oh, okay, right. It's not Western. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I actually never ran into it when I was in Morocco. You know, the only thing they had it was Ramadan. So they had their call to prayer stuff going on, and they wouldn't eat till the end of the day. But when they did eat, the food was unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it's great. They've got like this meat pie with a pastry crust and powdered sugar, and it's
right.
That was our favorite.
Yeah. So the thing is, there was much to be said about that, but it was unfortunate to see. I think Morocco basically got a bad pairing. It's had to be the worst pairing because France is favored to win it all.
Right, France is really good.
Yeah, and then Spain, and then Argentina. They needed to pull someone else to move on to the semifinals or the Final Four. But unfortunately, they got Spain. Spain won 2-0. Now, after watching soccer, I realized 2-0 is a commanding lead.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, in soccer, you don't need that many points. You get one or two.
No, this is a high-scoring World Cup.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, when I worked on Kimmel, we used to make fun of how boring soccer is because so many games ended 0-0, at least in the group. You know, you can't end 0-0. Well, you can go to penalty kick. But anyway, nobody was scoring goals. Now they're scoring a lot more goals than they used to. Also, like there's more tackling. There's more just contact.
Oh yeah, contact. But a lot of it, I think, is World Wrestling Federation contact. They get hit, and the guy goes, "Oh!" And
Yeah, yeah. There's that. But
that
in
was a
other
hit.
news, it's Friday and I'm tired. Trump
It was
is
Friday.
exhausting. So Trump gets given a $400 million plane by Qatar, a white elephant. They made they spent hundreds of millions of dollars, blinging out this 747 so they could sell it to like some, oil billionaire, some sultan or emir. And nobody in the Mideast wanted the plane. It was just sitting there, and they're like, "Let's use this for political. If we can't sell it, let's give it to Trump and get some influence." So Trump gets the plane, spends $400 million turning it into Air Force One, but that's not enough. You need to spend a full $1 billion and a little more time. They did a rush job and a cheap job, and so taxpayers have spent $400 million on this plane, but it's not secure enough to be Air Force One, so Trump can't use it for most things, but he does get to take it with him when he leaves office. So
really? Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a nice $1 billion bonus. Wait, he gets to take it with him personally?
Yes. I mean, they might call it like they'll probably give it some official name, but it will be at his disposal when he leaves office.
Well, we'll see if that all pans out. That's
okay. Another thing is the FDA, whoever does meat statistics, the Department of the Government just admitted that they exaggerated U.S. meat sales by a tenfold. That they said that the U.S. sold 12,000 tons of meat or something in some period. They sold 1,200, and so the meat industry, they were announcing that the meat has never been better. That Trump is great for farmers, but now they've had to reduce the amount of meat sold by 90%.
Ooh, well, that's not good. Well, I did find something interesting about Donald. Okay, that he said he made some comment and called it the Islamic Republic of Japan.
Japan, yeah. So he spoke. The longer when he speaks, he makes errors, and he spoke for a long time. He made 30 errors. That was maybe the goofiest one.
Right. Well, the other thing is he said there was 19 trillion of new investment in the United States. So I had to go AI because AI corrects it, and they go, well, not really. Okay, that is an embellishment. I mean, he embellishes it. He goes, they say they have a certain amount of commitments, but a lot of them are promises that don't necessarily mean they'll ever pan out, and they're way into the future. So it's almost like somebody says, well, Rick, I'll give you $1 million 10 years from now if your ratings on Pod TV go to 1 million a week and we receive 2 million in revenue. And then the next thing you do is you say, I just got $1 million bonus.
So I've produced some game shows. I want to create the first game show to give $1 billion to the winner. But it's $1,000 for 1 million years. And as a lawyer, you can probably tell me that that's an illegal contract, that it's close to a contract in perpetuity and probably wouldn't hold up.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. And the other thing is you might be able to buy an annuity that actually does pay that. But it's going to be very expensive.
Yeah, okay. So we give you an annuity that pays $1,000 a year for 1 million years.
Right.
Which is really a pretty lousy prize because you're only here for the next 50 years.
Well, and then also the time value of money. And 999,000 years from now, the value of $1,000 is going to be what? A quarter of a penny, or if that.
Right. So these $1 trillion promises strike me as similar to my $1 billion prize.
Yeah, well, that was the problem. So I had to go fact check it, and AI can fact check. And you're right, AI can fact check pretty quick. And in the future, I think what they're going to do, somebody's going to do it. Maybe we'll do it. We'll get Claude, because one of my companies that I'm working with is using Claude to do AI fact check instantaneously when these politicians talk. Okay. And the most hilarious thing is that when Trump was complaining about the Iranians lying, in other words, having veracity.
So, but anyway, it's Friday, so this is the day 5 of talking about this stuff. And by Friday, I'm pretty tired. After the show, I'm gonna go back to bed for a while.
Well, that's right, because you got to get up earlier in Pacific time. For me, it's almost like 5:00 in the 4:30 in the evening. So for me, it's not like I got to get up earlier, stuff like that. But Mark is running around, so unfortunately we don't get the news. And I always look forward to the news.
So we've been talking for a while, and you were talking before I came on, and you've been like pretty reasonable about like Trump, right? But now
I'm reasonable about Trump until Jacoby gets on, and I need to try to like rouse Jacoby. But
all right, so now the show's going to turn into wrestling, I guess.
Well, it'll be different. But the thing is, see with Trump, I mean, don't let Jacoby know that I hate Trump, because he'll think that I'm hypocritical. But on TV, I play a conservative. Okay. Well, and that's the reason I was thinking that when we moved to Fox, I'm going like, oh, this is going to be interesting, because I reviewed a lot of our shows. Okay. And if you watch Newsmax and Fox, they're really bent to the right.
Yeah.
Am I missing something? And if you ever watch a lot of our shows, they're actually bent to the other side. And the other thing, they're bent to the left, and our people are educated. And Donald said, I don't like educated people. Then if I start looking at a lot of the people that are on our shows, like a lot of the people that are talking, they're PhDs, they're professors, they're MDs. I mean, even on the chess show, we've got 2 professors, one who's electrical engineering professor at Vanderbilt. The other guy is a professor at State University of New York in Buffalo. And Dr. Czar, as you know, is a professor at Duke University. And I got another professor who's going to be doing a show for us, who's I'm working with him right now. He's been on our network before. He was a former dean of the business school at University of Illinois. So you got a lot of smart people on our network. And didn't Trump say, I don't like smart people, or smart people don't like me?
The office where I worked used to be where I used to work on Hollywood Boulevard. And one of my coworkers came up with a game called How Many Seconds Until Crazy, where you go out on the street, you take, you on your lunch break or whatever, how many seconds does it take before you happen to pass by a completely insane person? And
that's a good question.
And it was usually, within 5 seconds. And that's what I play the same game with Fox. I'll turn on Fox News, and I'll see how long I can watch before they say something that is such bullshit,
ridiculous.
That I get annoyed and I have to go someplace else.
Yeah. Well, we were going to have Chris Ruddy. He founded Newsmax on our shows, but I'm afraid here's what happened. Chris Ruddy, who's a founder of Newsmax, started watching our shows and realized it probably wasn't a good idea for him to come on our shows. So I talked to him, but we never got Chris Ruddy on because of that. That's what I'm saying. When Fox takes over Roku, and we have 4 contracts with Roku.
When does this happen exactly?
They've already announced the purchase, but I don't know when it's going to happen, and I don't know how they're going to integrate all the Roku programming into Fox. That's going to be up to them. We just come with 4 channels. That's all we have.
This is probably a question for Jacoby, but in LA, a bunch of studios, a bunch of movie lots, TV production lots have gone bankrupt. At least 3 of them.
Of course.
And have been repoed by the banks and then turned over. Netflix got a $1.8 billion studio lot in our neighborhood. They bought it for $400 million. So I'm wondering, Jacoby, are you seeing this same pressure the money is going away, and that there's consolidation in the video game industry?
Well, the gaming industry is being eaten alive by AI. So that's hitting a lot of the gamers and the game developers. It's more becoming independent, yet becoming more consolidated. So it's like splitting up, going more grassroots, as well as going all up under one umbrella.
And is it for the individual people, the workers in the gaming industry, is what's going on, it's mostly not good? Because in TV and movies, what's going on isn't great for individual, writers, actors, craft people.
You have every facet of game development that's being hit. So you have your artists, you have your level designers, you have your coders, you have every facet of gaming is being hit.
Yeah, there's a commercial on for something called Codex, which is, I guess, AI coding, and it shows a young woman, and it's late at night. She's obviously been working all night on her game and an otherwise empty office, and then she just types one line into her computer and says, make this 3D, and then the whole office expands into a paradise because she's using AI coding. It made her job just like 100 times easier. But that ad pisses me off, because what they don't show is that the following week her job goes away because AI made her job irrelevant.
Is that what's going on right now in the entertainment industry? Because
we went on strike a couple of years ago to say you can't screw us over with AI fake employees.
What do these people do when they lose their jobs? Where do they go?
They move into a cheaper apartment. Some of them live in there are these, like it used to be, if you had a job writing for TV, you got to have a house. Right. Now you have roommates. Now you might deliver for DoorDash. But at
the same time, Rick, when I look at these movies that they're producing today compared to, let's say, Casablanca 100 years ago, and I've been to Casablanca, like I said, it was a pretty neat place. All right, the movies today, at the end, we always like to see the credits run. The credits run for days, and the amount of people that are working on it, it's like the New York Army showed up. Hundreds and hundreds of people.
Roughly 12,000 employees around the world working on a $200 million Marvel movie. But that's a Marvel.
But it's incredible. I mean, how many people were in years ago, when you look at these old movies and they run the credits, it'll be starring these people, and there'll be one. Production crew, that'll be two, and that'll be it.
Yeah, but every era has its strengths. If you look at the movies you're talking about, one of their strengths was building interior sets, the molding, the crown molding, the paneling. They have the greatest freaking Finnish carpenters in the world. And so, like, if you're going to watch those movies, you'd watch them for maybe the dialogue. They were, adapted by stuff like Steinbeck and Fitzgerald from some of the great works of literature, because they couldn't do special effects yet. So they had to rely on their other strengths: wardrobe, sets, dialogue. Now, because go ahead.
It just takes more people to make a movie now. And that's just being honest. If you're going to make if you're talking about Casablanca, which really didn't have a bunch of different set scenes and all the other stuff, in comparison to Sleepless in Seattle, which was also just a couple of years ago, which was decades ago, there's a longer list for Sleepless in Seattle than there is for Casablanca. Then you keep going. Right. There's just more people it takes.
Okay, well then riddle me this, Batman. Will AI start displacing all these?
Yes,
absolutely.
And so all of a sudden,
there's actually a female. They have the first AI actor who's
Tilly Norwood. She's a very
in a feature film.
Tilly Norwood, very cute young lady, is not a real person. is starring in her first movie.
You're kidding. Okay, well, but all the special effects, is that going to replace? Because a lot of the credits are run on, the Marvel movies are all these people, armies of people,
Yeah.
doing special effects. Are you telling me they're all losing their jobs?
Well, we'll say 90% of them, because you send a job to South Korea because you can get the CG. There are all these CG houses around the world. And a lot of them are in places where the cost of labor is less. But nothing, you can't get lower cost of labor than zero. So with AI, you can replace 90% of these craftspeople with
Well, Disney got in trouble for WandaVision because WandaVision used AI people in the background on one of their scenes. So yeah, all that's going to get replaced. All those special effects are, yes, going to be done by the AI engine and whatever that engine may be, and then the individual that'll get the credit is the coders. So you'll have, instead of 14 to 100 people doing the graphics design work and the special effects, you're now just going to have 1 or 2 people. So yeah, you're going to lose a lot of people.
So here, I can talk about it. Let me give you a concrete example. After my wife goes to sleep, I will look at naked pictures on the internet. And sorry, my wife is yelling for saying, don't talk about it. But anyway,
well, you can watch them on X right
all right,
now.
but the deal is, a year ago, 14 months ago, it was pictures. Then it became clips that were maybe half a second long. Now it's full-on scenes that cut back and forth with dialogue and and camera angles and zooms and pans that might run 6-10 seconds, and all this is basically for free because they're fishing for people who are willing to pay for this kind of stuff by throwing out this content. So AI, they can throw out hundreds of these, thousands of these clips that are basically little 10-second movies for free, because it's cheap enough for them to. It's like 10% of young American men have a gambling problem. I'm signed up with 2 online betting services, and they give you money for free. They go, here's some money to bet. And the deal is, they know that if a certain percentage of people given that money will be sucked into the point that they will overspend the free money and start spending their own money.
Okay. All right. Well, that's by the way, that's a big problem. I did see groups when I was traveling overseas. When I was in Bahamas, they did that. They give me $20. Now, if you give them 10, they'll give you 20 to go gamble, to get you into the house. Okay. So I was going, that's such a great deal. So I figured, well, I'll put it on red or black if I double the money, but you had to do something to get the money back.
Right.
And so I put it on red, thinking I'll either double it or I'll lose it all. Who cares, because it's $10 and it'll become either $20 or nothing. And you know what it did? It hit the house's edge, which is 0, 0, 0.
I did the exact same thing.
Now looking back, I think it was kind of fixed, because I was going, because any smart person, if they give you 10, if I give you 10, they give you 20, and you go to a place that has a 50-50 odds, you just made money. In other words, mathematically, you're ahead of the game. And then the thing is, and I was just going to collect whatever I collect and walk out, or lose and walk out, because you had read. But when it hit 0, 0, I was going, "Are you serious? How could it hit 0, 0?" No,
I have the same thing happen twice in a row. They gave me 2 $5 bets, and I took it right over to roulette because it offers it's a
50-50 shot.
And it hit a 0 or a 0, 0 twice in a row. I lost my fake.
Did you do it? Well, now looking back on what you just said, it may be fixed. In other words,
I don't know. I mean, why would they wouldn't, there's a gaming commission in Vegas. They wouldn't fix
this. Was in the Bahamas.
All right, okay, but still, like, would they go to the trouble of fixing it to take away your $10?
It's take away $10. I don't know. I'm just saying. I just thought that was kind of cute that it hit the 0 zeros. Okay, so now the thing is, Spain. Just let you know, right? Spain does not have. They tell you in Europe that going topless is okay. All right. So I go to the beach because it's like 5-minute walk. So I'll be there tomorrow and all that stuff. And you know what? There's these young ladies who are actually extremely attractive and they're topless. And as an American, I'm going like, wow, you know about the rest of Spain? They all ignore them like it's nothing. And I'm sitting there going, okay, they've all been conditioned that no one really cares.
Well, no, they care, but you got to be cool. It's like in LA.
Yeah, you got to be cool.
Where you go, you might run into somebody famous. And if you freak out, if you get all weird about it, it makes it awkward for you and for the famous person. So you have to pretend. If you're at CVS and Anna Taylor-Joy is shopping for, I don't know, mascara, whatever, nutrition bars, and the next aisle over, you just have to walk past her. You can't like do a whole trip.
Right. Yeah. Well, when I was in Venice, I believe we ran into two people, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. They were actually staying at our hotel. But, even though I saw them, my brain couldn't say, okay, they're famous Americans because I'm in Venice and what were they doing in Venice. Then I found out they have a place in Tuscany.
Okay.
And so oh my Lord, then why would they be at that hotel? It's kind of a classy, what is the name of that hotel? I go to it all the time.
I have the same, when I was a kid, I had the same thing happen with Robert Redford. I was bound to this hotel it was a crappy hotel, but it had a great disco. And so I'm walking with another bouncer at the end of the night to go to the kitchen and maybe steal some food because we were hungry. And we heard that Robert Redford was staying at our crappy hotel, and I'm saying to the other bouncer, well, I go, why would he stay at this piece of shit hotel? And then from behind us, we hear, ha, caught you red-handed. And it was Robert Redford who caught us talking about him right past him.
Oh, yeah, when I was in Connecticut, I went to it was a theater somewhere. And there was a person there that looked just like Jackie Onassis. And she's standing there, we're sitting rapping, and I was going, that. And then my business partner, Stu, goes, that's Jackie Onassis. I said, what would she be doing at this stupid play? So we went to one of the people that worked there. I said, is that Jackie Onassis? And they go, we have a very famous person here that we can't talk about.
Yeah. So in LA, my wife has a code word. The code word, she'll say the code word to me, and that means without being uncool about it, kind of check out your 4 o'clock or whatever, and you will see a famous person.
Yeah. I mean, one thing about Spain is that you don't really run into at least in the area. I live in Badalona, which is a beach community right next to Barcelona. You don't even run into Americans here. I mean, it's weird. The Americans, or they call them turistas, they're all in Barcelona at Barceleta Beach. There's like one beach where all the cruise ship goes, the Americanas go, the turistas go. Then if you go down a ways like we're at, there's no Americans. They're all Spanish nationals and Catalonians.
So let's bring this around to like the news. 2 days ago, the Atlantic came out with a story on the end of reading, that people are no longer willing or able to read books because we are so fragmented by, we read just as many words a day, probably more words a day than people used to, but it's all in the form of little blips off our phone. And especially young people look at reading books as like an alien exercise and a chore and something that is inconceivable to do for pleasure, and people are getting dumber, as we've talked about. They cannot digest a sustained argument, the kind you'd find in a book, as opposed to AI summarizing something for you. And also, my wife's birthday was yesterday, and she knows the famous people who were born on her birthday. There's Tom Hanks, there's O.J. Simpson, and AI gave her the list, the new list of famous people born on her birthday. And Hanks, it's all new celebrities. It's all people from media that people our age don't generally consume. Tom Hanks was the highest ranked regular celebrity at number 3, and then the rest of the list was people that we'd never heard of.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people out there that, gosh, you never heard of. But when it comes to books, here's the problem. I mean, I understand that people don't like to read books, but part of the reason I like books when I travel, I probably, in a month, I probably buy about and read about 10 books a month or something like that. And so right now, the problem I'm having is this library, the library next door to me, the library over there, all my libraries are full. So I got to buy more bookshelves, which I'm in process of doing. But here's the reason I buy them. If you go to certain countries, you can get what I call specialized books you can't get on Amazon. All right. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually looking, and it has specialized knowledge in a little area that you want to know about. Either it's history, art, or a combination thereof, and you just can't get it on Amazon. It doesn't appear on AI. Now, maybe in the future, AI will envelope and grab that information, but right now it doesn't. And there's something like reading a book in a newspaper as opposed to, and I'm on my cell phone a lot. I have two cell phones, American and a US. But the thing is, there's stuff that's in these books that aren't on cell phones, and they aren't on AI yet. So I don't get it. And when I learned chess, this is really weird. Now this goes back zillions of years ago. Here's how I learned it. I picked up books and I started reading. Today, people have chess coaches. I fell on my chair. I go,
Yeah.
what? Okay. You mean you don't have to just pick up a book and start reading and then figure it out?
I'm sure when you pick up a chess book, you've probably read more than 100 books on chess.
Oh God, yes. You can't
when you pick up a chess book, you probably have to skim the first 70, 120 pages because you know all this stuff.
Yeah, that's the sad part. The thing is, I used to buy, my library used to be full of chess books because I read like almost all the Batsford series that ever was published and stuff. But if you want to be good, see, this is what people don't know. And I think it's like anything. You want to be good, you can get to X by just natural talent. But if you want to be real good, X plus Y creates a lot of work. Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody can get to X level at chess by just their natural talent, but they'll never go to Y unless they work their butt off. And to go to Z, you have to be totally dedicated to it. Seriously.
But like when I pick up a physics book, I usually can't deal with a physics book that's written for regular people because I have to skip the first 120 pages to get to anything. And so there's nothing in there that I don't already know because I'm in physics. Yeah. And the deal is people, younger people, the culture is shifting. I know a guy who's trying to write high-end IQ problems. He's trying to test IQ in the era of AI, and it's really hard because these.
Well, don't wouldn't it be better to go to a testing center because it's almost like
So the thing came out yesterday. A Brown economics professor gave his kids a take-home test, and he suspected AI, that they used AI to cheat. So he gave them the same test or something really close and made them take it in class. And then he published a list showing the scores. And everybody, like people, got 40% in class. A couple of his students got 100% take home, 0% in class. Every college is in a shambles because everybody is using AI. And the deal with wanting people, books are tough to get people to read because everybody has seen everything. And like when I read a book and it present, like if you watch a movie, I watched like 3 movies where I got annoyed because every movie had a chase scene through a restaurant kitchen. It's like, that's really, if you're trying to avoid the bad guys, that's a really great place to run through. And it's like, all right, I've seen this a million times. Or somebody gets bad news and they throw up. I've seen that a million times. I don't like seeing it anymore. I've seen it too many times. And when people pick up a book and they've already seen, like somebody who's, a kid who's 22 years old might have seen, 30,000 hours worth of streaming plus, and they've seen everything. They pick up a book, something happens in the book that they've seen a million times in movies or TV. And they're like, why do I need to waste my time to read something that I can see on TV and that I've seen 50 times before.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And I think some of these trends you're just not going to be able to stop. The only question is how are you going to, in other words, how are you going to deal with these trends? And the other thing is, what are these metrics for? In other words, like there was a study like Finland. When it comes to testing, they don't take tests.
Yeah,
Finland.
Why would you test? Why would you test IQ alone? Like in the AI era, like we know if you take people's devices away, people are dumber. But you don't take people's devices away. You probably need to figure out a way to test people's ingenuity or persistence when they have the device in their hands. Who's better at riding the AI pony to a desired result?
Yeah, in other words, those testing methodologies, what good are they? In other words, what you're trying to do is differentiate, but does the differentiate make any real difference?
The guy who invented the IQ test in the late 19th century, he gave people who took his test a score from 1 to 5. You get a 1, you're really dumb. You need help in school. 2, you're kind of dumb. You need a little help. 3, you're average. You just sit in class. 4, you're a little smart. 5, you're very smart. You need different. It was just to get people appropriate educational help.
Correct. Right. It was to help the people on the lower end of the curve.
Right. And Terman in California took this idea and he gave it a jazzier 100-point mean scale. It made it seem much more scientific and technical. Instead of 1 to 5, you might get a score from 60 to 140, and that's much more precise. And but it still did the same thing. When you were given IQ tests in school, and just about every kid was, I don't know if I assume they still are, it's to help the teachers figure out what you need.
Yeah, but the thing is, the problem with a lot of the testing, as you get into the top 1%, the test does not measure.
Then it becomes a sport. Then it becomes world's strongest man.
Yeah, in other words, once you're in the top 1%, because my granddaughter, she just got they have these ACTs now. So I said, so how'd she do? She got a 35. And so I asked Kaylin, what 35 means what? It was 35
out of 36.
Out of 36. And I was to give you an idea, I didn't take the ACTs. It didn't exist when I was there. I said, I guess that sounds good, because usually
it's good, but probably if she's applying to an Ivy League school or Stanford, probably 15%, maybe 20, maybe 25% of the kids will have a 35 or a 36.
That's correct. Right. Yeah. And so the thing is, I looked on the internet because I was trying to figure out this ACT thing that didn't exist when I was around. And I looked, I said, hey, that is pretty good because it'll accept in most schools. In other words, however, here was my point, because when I was coaching Andy on the SATs, because the teachers are dumb when it comes to this stuff. They go, oh, well, you don't need to study. You can't study for it. You just got to walk in and take the test. I said, Andy, that's not correct. It's like chess. You got to study for it. And none of that, you're going to study for at least a year. Okay. So he did that.
It's the same technique.
Yeah, it's the same technique. And he pulled a 1585 out of 1600.
So the way you do it is to get good at chess, to get good at stand-up, you have to get on stage at least 1,000 times. To get good at
that's what people don't know.
You have to play 1,000 games.
Oh, you have to play thousands.
To get good at the ACT or SAT, you have to take dozens and dozens of practice tests.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And the thing is, all the people I know that scored in the 1500s or better studied for about a year and doing exactly what we were saying, going questions after it's like chess, questions after question, problems after problem, blah, 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 until they were sick and tired.
Because what happens when you take that, you see every kind of problem they can throw at you. In chess, you see every possible scenario.
It's all pattern recognition. Yep, you're right.
So,
it's all pattern recognition.
So she applies to, used to be when I started to apply to Harvard, then I kind of had a nervous breakdown. But at the time, 20% of the people who applied to Harvard got in. Now
Yeah.
it's 3%. So now a kid who applies to Harvard also applies to 5 other Ivies.
Oh, schools, right. And it's yeah, the metrics, it's so tough to get into any of these quote elite schools right now because the acceptance rates are so low because they have unbelievable amounts of applicants and unbelievable other people that are just
Right.
really,
And
really
there are
good.
30 to 50 to 60,000 kids across America every year who are perfectly qualified.
Correct. Yeah.
But the class size at Harvard is like 1,800 people.
Yeah.
And people talk about, you know, DEI and like whether you want, and who if you want to fix it, you can't really fix it because there are too many qualified students. Somebody's going to get screwed. Is it going to be Asian
Correct.
students? Is it going to be Jewish students? Is it going to be white
Somebody,
students?
yeah, right. So some demographic is gonna
The way to at least help it a little bit is to say, hey, Harvard, in the next 5 years, why don't you expand the size of your entering
which they
class?
could do.
They
Which
barely
they can do.
Harvard says we've already taken up as all the available land in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
You don't need land anymore. You can do it all on the internet. When I taught at the graduate tax program for 8, maybe 9 years at Northeastern University. Okay, it was all done on the internet. In other words, so they don't this whole thing. Oh, we got to get more built. You don't need all that stuff.
Yeah.
It can all be done on the internet. The reason they won't do it, it devalues.
Right, it's less exclusive.
Property. It becomes less exclusive.
Right, like
right.
Cornell lets in more of the Ivies. It's the sluttiest one. It lets in like 3,000 students compared to Princeton with 1,700. And so Cornell's reputation suffers slightly. It becomes like a little bit jokey. Like there's a character on The Office who's always bragging he went to Cornell. And that's kind of a joke because that's the jokiest. It's still a ridiculously hard school to get into.
Yeah, right. But also now begs another question because remember, we're not in the 18th century anymore. The knowledge is more of a fungible good.
Right.
And I did go to Harvard in the summer programs, also went to Oxford summer programs because I was curious. I was going, okay, do they and can they teach you anything different that's quantitatively different from anywhere else? And my empirical evidence was no. In other words, it was interesting to go to. Adams Hall was nice to stay. And Widner Library, which they brag about, their biggest library in the world, the only reason it was bigger is they had the Southern Reporter 8 times, and you only need it once, okay? But what they do is there's a reporter system. You just buy 8 of them, and so now you have a lot more books, but it's the same bloody book. And I'm going like, is this what they're bragging about? Has anybody really looked at this? This is Harvard Law School, and I'm going like, don't they know that it's a misnomer saying we've got more books when all we did was have 200 times more of the same volume?
Yeah, but the reason you go to these places is for the connections.
That part is correct. You know, if you want to know why do you want to go into these schools, is what you just said. Your future spouse will be there, okay? Your future business associates will be there. Your connections will be there. And connections mean your future business partners will be there. So all the reasons are intangible. But in terms of real power knowledge, there is no difference. Or the difference is almost infinitesimally, it's immaterial.
So
you know,
Elon Musk went to Stanford for what, maybe a year?
And they dropped out.
His connections, then he dropped out. So yeah, if you're going to go into the tech field, you want to go to Stanford, you want to meet a bunch of people, and it's probably, if you're like slick enough, it's immaterial whether you finish there.
Right, and so the thing is, should the schools, don't they have to move toward what really is making people successful today as opposed to years ago?
Well, yeah, they should, because the like college is in a shambles because people aren't learning. They're using AI. Guys are lost. There are now 3 female undergrads for every 2 male undergrads.
That's true.
Guys are giving up. Also, the bonus you get for having a college degree versus a high school diploma is evaporating. It used to be that your first job after leaving college would pay $30,000 a year more than your first job after leaving high school.
Right. But also things, the mentality is what you just described. And there's nothing wrong with it, because I've talked to my wife about this a lot. Nothing wrong with becoming an employee of a company. Okay, nothing wrong. But the thing is, they don't teach you to become an employer owner of a company, which is a whole different set of skills that you need to know. And if you ever go look on the internet, who is the most successful in terms about net worth, it will be owner employees. They hit like the #1 bracket. In other words, entrepreneurs who own their own company, innovators who own their own company. And then as you go down the scale, employees like 0. Okay, so now wait a minute. And I'm talking about being successfully financially, which doesn't mean your life is successful, because you don't need the money to be successful. But the schools are not designed, the education system aren't designed to make somebody an owner or a manager, because there's a lot of decisions.
Jacoby, where do you go, Jacoby? Where do you go to learn how to pitch a video game? To walk into a video game company with a pitch book,
pitch
deck. That's a good question.
You go to different conventions. You go to different expos. You go talk to, you basically create your own. You go to the lawyers, find out how much. In terms of how much it's going to cost, you go to your financial advisors. You go to your like I said, your lawyers to get your IP registered. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pitch it to,
do you go to? Is there a college that has courses in any of this that people go?
Yeah,
to?
I mean, you can learn to develop your own game and stuff, but it takes more than just one person. If you're going to do a AAA game that you want to sell, no, you're going to need a whole group of people. So, I mean, yeah, there's schools to do game development, which is great. But I mean, you're looking at level design, artists, coders, character design, character models. There's a whole slew of people that it takes to make a video game.
So I assume with video games, a lot of people, the biggest names have agents, right?
Not really.
Well, all right. In TV and movies, everybody has an agent, and then you have a packaging agent which assembles the team. It gets the writers, the actors, the directors, everybody, and then they walk into the studios and say, "We have this property, we have this team. You look at everybody's track record. We think this is a winning team." You're saying that that you don't have agents. You have to assemble your own team.
Essentially, I mean, so as a, I mean, I can use multiple games as a concrete example, but there's one game that one company they were wanting to do Dungeons and Dragons, a Dungeons and Dragons game. They had made multiple games, but Dungeons and Dragons had already had a concrete contract with somebody else. They didn't want to use that company. But then the company made 2 games, and I forget the 2 games right now, but they made 2 other games, a part 1 and a part 2, that were really well done, had the whole Dungeons and Dragons set up that Dungeons and Dragons wanted. So then the company that owns Dungeons and Dragons hired the company out. So it was basically, they had a game that got hot. And once that game got hot, the owners of the IP Dungeons and Dragons went and they used them to make Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is a phenomenal game. And that company that, again, they hired, they did a great job with it. But the thing is, it wasn't that they kept shopping this idea. No, it was that they made a game. That game became hot. Other companies started looking because, hey, look, this game, it's like ChatGPT. OpenAI didn't go out and shop ChatGPT. People have come to them and said, hey, we want to buy your product. So it's the same thing in gaming. There are multiple companies that have done that. If you make something that people like, the people that made there's what's the name of that game? Matter of fact, this Neverness to Everness. Company that made that was shopped by another company. They bought that company. EA does that all the time in terms of your developers, and you make money.
Cards. Yeah, you know, and in North Carolina, the two wealthiest people in there, it's one, the guy that created Fortnite, and the other one is the guy who created SAS Systems, who unfortunately is in his 80s now. And when you're 80, I don't care how smart the guy was, it's hard for him to make a decision. He was going to take the company public. Now he decides not to. He's going to turn it over to his underlings to do. But basically, it was Goodnight and whoever his partner was. They're both from North Carolina State, by the way. And they're both the wealthiest people in North Carolina because they created a company called SAS Systems, which is a data analytics company in Raleigh. It's kind of, or I guess Cary technically. But the thing is, it's not a public company because the guy who created it, Goodnight and Saul, those are the two people. They're both in their 80s. And I can tell you that with a problem when you're 80s, doesn't matter how smart you are, you start slowing down, right? I mean,
until some company comes up with the brain chip that turbocharges your 80-year-old brain and turns it into the brain of a 60-year-old. You know, people with Parkinson's have a pacemaker deep in their brain to kind of goose your brain and keep you, because Parkinson's, you get frozen, right? It's hard to initiate movement. Once you start to move, then you can keep moving. So this pacemaker is like, let's go.
Yeah.
So somebody will come up with the old people's chip that, like, at a certain point with early Alzheimer's, there's the Post-it notes era where for a year or so, you can get by with Post-it notes on everything. Oh, this does this. So if you had a chip that put the Post-it notes inside your head, then you can keep going for a while.
Oh, by the way, there was a study that came out in China or somewhere that said to slow down Alzheimer's, 59% is you need to travel. And they said, okay. And they said the reason why is when you go to a foreign country and you travel, you're faced with all these different sensory things that you're not used to, and it keeps your brain stimulated.
There's a famous study of a group of nuns. Nuns live sheltered lives, so they live a long time. But they keep mentally busy with crossword puzzles. And they found out that the nuns who got into their 90s and with all their marbles, they upon autopsy, they looked at the brains. Their brains were Swiss cheese. They were as with Alzheimer's as anybody, but because they kept using their brains, they built new connections.
They built new neurons, neuron connectors. So the thing is, they were able to say it. In the chess, they only gave it 11%. So they said, well, keeping up with chess will help you about 11%. Traveling will help you 59%. I was going, are you serious? And part of it is they said, and part of it I also understand, the problem with chess, it becomes pattern recognition to the point where it's repetitive.
Right, I mean, it only hits a little part of your brain.
Exactly, you're not gaining anything. Where when you travel, especially to foreign countries where you get hit with like languages you don't understand, places you don't know how to get to, you're always beset by problems, and you got to solve the problems. Unless you're lazy like me and you want to stay at the Intercontinental, take tours, let them do all the work, hire cabs.
My wife and I will go on a cheap little cruise. Cruises probably help you less than chess because everything is done for you.
Because everything's done for you. So what you need to do is travel where things aren't done for you and things are made difficult for you, and then it will actually slow the progression.
So we see this in people who are on this. I'm on the spectrum, and what we see is that dealing with other people is really the hardest task that you can face.
Exactly.
It's like, because people on the spectrum have lots of specialized skills. Those are sub skills like chess, but then when it's that finishing stuff, that deal where you have to figure out what the F is going on with other people, that is freaking challenging, and it takes everybody on the spectrum or not until their 30s. Some people never figure it out. Also, I mean, you can look at America. We let a psychopath, we elected a psychopath president twice because we couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, correct. And the thing is, we should do some special, maybe we'll talk to Dr. Patmos about this on Alzheimer's and also aging, because those are really great subjects.
Right, because when you start losing it in your 70s and 80s, there's a huge industry devoted to taking advantage of people who used to have some expertise in the world, and then they lose their critical faculty. I mean, you don't have to be dumb or old to get scammed, but it's a lot easier.
Right, and then they get scammed, but we'll have to do that. And then also, have you met Dr. Azar? He's actually does a show here. You should go meet him. He's a professor at Duke University, and he heads up the Innovation and Entrepreneurship division of Duke University. So he does a show called VC Masters. I'll see if I can get you on one of his shows. He's a pretty cool guy, and we're expanding what he's doing because I think we're going to have a whole channel devoted to tech called TechStorm. That's what they're working on back there. Okay. So one of the channels
that might allow you to withstand Fox, because Fox, you know, they might hate all the lib talk on here, but if you're going tech, they can sell that to their viewers.
Right. Yeah, and recognizing that IBM kicked us out. Okay, we were IBM TV. That's how we got started. And IBM goes like, and part of it was politics. The guy who brought us in loved the concept. Then he got a job in Pune, India, heading up some big company. He says, you know, when I'm gone, nobody's going to be here to protect you.
That's right. The new lion takes over the pack. The new lion kills all the cubs because those aren't his cubs.
Mm-hmm. So IBM TV, poof, no more. And we became Pod TV. So now we're moving to, but remember, it's only one channel that's moving to Fox. The only thing they could do is destroy our 4 Roku. We still keep our 4 Amazon channels, but I'm looking at this, I'm going, how are we going to get us integrated with Fox? Because we have a lot of smart professors, not dumb hicks from redneck United States.
You should probably give my friend Lance, who's very Trumpy.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
He loves Trump. Lance loves to evangelize like all the conservative BS. He digests that. He listens to that stuff 60 hours a week.
Oh, good. Okay, we'll let him interface with the Fox.
So I'll call Lance up and see if that might be something he's interested in.
Because I'm sitting there going like, our life expectancy on Fox will not be very long, because they'll look at our program like Chris Ruddy did, if you're listening to this, and go, I can't get on with these people. And he runs for the hills. But and he created a company called Newsmax, which isn't bad. I mean, I've watched this stuff. It's okay. But in the meantime, we have to go because we're
all right. Have a good weekend, Toby.
Thank everybody, and we'll see you next Monday. Mark will be back with the news. In the meantime, you get the second string, which is me and Rick. Sorry. Until next week. And of course, Jatovi. Nobody can deal without Jatovi. Yeah. See you next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.